It's Monday, October 11. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is reiterating that the current measures, such as curfews, are not long-term solutions to the current COVID-19 pandemic. He says as time goes on, the government will have to change its approach to the pandemic management.
I was very clear. I said that the current measures that are in place can't last forever. That we will have to change the way in which we are doing business. One way I pointed it out is the way in which we are allocating beds and making special allocations for COVID. That can't continue forever. That's part of the change in how we will have to operate. There are other ways that we will have to change. A very brilliant young lady here, obviously a mother with a child in school, she pointed out that we need to change the way in which we are going about the education of our children during the pandemic. We need to bring in the children who are vaccinated into the classroom. So all of these things are things that will emerge. Now, remember, it's one society, and we're not discarding people who are not vaccinated. We're not ignoring their concerns, because it is one society. And my job, in as much as I have to move with be decisive, I still also must be conscientious and respectful of people's rights.
Mr. Holness was speaking recently to residents during one of his stops on the national vaccination program. Sapro's CEO, Richard Pandohie, says recovery from Saturday's fire at Facey Commodity in Kingston has already started, and delivery of supplies will continue this week. Facey Commodity, a major food distributor in Jamaica and the region, suffered more than $1 billion in damages after fire destroyed a section of its warehouse and administrative offices at the 50,000 square foot property. Separate, which is the parent company of Facey Commodity, has announced that recovery efforts are already underway, and Facey employees who have been displaced by the warehouse fire have been deployed to other locations. Mr. Pandohie says the pharmaceutical division has not been impacted by the blaze, and the division which stores COVID-19 vaccines on behalf of the Ministry of Health and Wellness had no vaccines for the last 3 weeks, as they were all taken by the ministry. Member of Parliament Donovan Williams says the Fleet Street housing scheme in central Kingston is slated for renovation under the National Housing Trust's scheme upgrade program. He made the announcement during his contribution to the constituency debate in the House of Representatives last week. He says elderly residents would benefit from the construction of 2 indigent housing solutions in the south side, noting that engineers have commenced an analysis for the proposed dwellings.
This will inure to the benefit of persons currently living on land in undesirable conditions, as well as other vulnerable persons in desperate need of housing assistance. I'm telling you, Madam Speaker, the people are eagerly awaiting the construction. Madam Speaker, through the Ministry of Local Government, and I want to say thank you, Honourable Desmond McKenzie, we have received just last week we have started, the engineers have started the analysis for 2 indigent houses in the south side area of the constituency. And Madam Speaker, we have chosen 2 of the most, what I would say, dilapidated, rundown, and these are houses that are occupied by elderly residents, Madam Speaker. And so we think it's a worldwide venture, and I want to say thank you to the Minister of Local Government and the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation for their assistance.
Mr. Williams says the Tel Aviv area in the constituency will also be benefiting from housing development under its social housing project.
Madam Speaker, this is a game changer. Built in the 1980s, the scheme is home to over 500 residents, and since its construction has not benefited from any form of government upgrade assistance. Since 1980s, no form of assistance. I concur. In the 80s, it was new. Madam Speaker. This upgrade will give the scheme a much needed facelift. It will include painting of the building, pavement of the pathways, waterproofing, replacement of entrance and exit gates, pavement of parking areas, raising sections of the perimeter fence to ward off intruders, landscaping, among other things.
The Judicature Appellate Jurisdiction Amendment Act 2021 and the Judicature Parish Court Amendment Act 2021 were both given the nod by the Senate on Friday. The two bills will grant the limited right of appeal to the prosecution in criminal proceedings in the Parish Court and the Supreme Court. Here's more in this report. Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, who piloted the legislation, said the amendments will give victims a voice, noting that under the present law, the prosecution has no right of appeal against a verdict of acquittal in criminal proceedings.
So while we do address the matters of increased use of forensic, as we have continued to do, the establishment of the relevant labs, the database, the provision of training to our detectives and to all the technicians who are needed to ensure that the forensic lab operates well, our ability to grant greater mobility and capacity to our police force and our investigative forces, the rolling out of Jamaica Eye and the cameras, all of that is working on the side of apprehension and certainty of apprehension. But it's not the only aspect. So we have to deal with the different pieces of the puzzle. And this one is on the side of the justice system. And it is on the side of giving the victims a voice through the state. And as Senator Briam most correctly said in his closing words, certainly when we look at the society, when we ask of the society and we ask of the state, must it be that the state only has an obligation to the accused? Do we not have obligations as well to the rest of society and to the victims? The answer is certainly yes, Mr. President. We do owe it to our victims to ensure that where errors are made and that where new evidence presents itself and where there are administration of justice offenses, that the prosecution must have the right of appeal.
She explains that the legislation seeks to amend the law to grant the prosecution a right of appeal with the consent of the Director of Public Prosecutions, where there has been a verdict of acquittal in an administration of justice offense. But there are certain checks and balances.
The matter of the appeals on the administration of justice offenses, where once the Court of Appeal grants the leave of appeal for administration of justice, and sentencing those, then the Court of Appeal has 12 months to hear the appeal after the date the application was made. And then for points of law, it's 12 months after the date of the appeal is brought, the date that the appeal is brought. Then where the court orders a retrial from any of those applications being brought, that is those applications for leave, then the retrial must commence within 6 months from that date. On which the order for retrial was made. In the second part, for new and compelling evidence, then the time limit is where the Court of Appeal rules that the matter is to be retried. And then the trial court must fix a date no later than 2 months after the date of that order. And these are the timelines that are set out in the Act, and there is no express right to expand time, and there is no express right to prohibit the expansion of time.
It should be noted that the bills will amend the Legal Aid Act to allow legal aid to be available to a respondent in any criminal appeal. The definition of the prosecutor will be the Director of Public Prosecutions or any of the attorneys at law employed in that office, or an attorney at law to whom the DPP has granted a fiat to prosecute the case, a clerk of the court, the Integrity Commission's Director of Corruptions Prosecutions, the Director General of the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, MOCA, and a person who has initiated a private prosecution.
Those persons are all considered judicial officers for the purposes of this section. If you read the chapeau, it doesn't make them judicial officers at large. It is for the interpretation of this section. And what that does is not only allow them to appeal, but it also protects them under the administration of justice offenses. Those administration of justice offenses can include actions against judicial officers. So the intimidation of the clerk, intimidation of whoever is prosecuting. Those are offenses as well that can affect the administration of justice, and therefore it was felt that they should benefit from that protection as well. And it doesn't apply across the entire Act.
The versatile bamboo tree can be used in construction, can build household items, and bamboo-based pulp holds more economic and export potential. These benefits aside, bamboo presents immeasurable biodiversity to our island and our planet. As we speak, the government of Jamaica is actively engaged in a project to plant 3 million trees in 3 years as a means to combat the climate change events. In this rebroadcast, our reporter Marlon Samuels explores the economic and environmental value of bamboo.
There are over 65,000 hectares of bamboo in Jamaica. Bamboo is seen as a miracle plant with a variety of uses. It is used to make paper. It has antibacterial properties and can be transformed into fabric softer than cotton. Bamboo shoots or spouts can be eaten. It is high in fiber, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. You can order a range of dishes made from bamboo, including salads, soups, and stir-fry dishes. One can also sip on a cold beer made from bamboo. Bamboo is used globally as a building material because it's strong. Some say even stronger than wood or concrete. It's durable, eco-friendly, and inexpensive. In fact, experts say its strength makes it a perfect replacement for steel when reinforcing concrete, and many countries are using it for construction of low-cost houses. The versatile wood is used heavily in Jamaica's tourism industry. Bamboo rafts allow visitors to enjoy the flora and fauna on a slow ride down the river. Jamaica has been taking steps to expand its bamboo industry to tap into the lucrative global market for bamboo products, which is estimated at $10 billion. Jamaica is also producing value-added products from bamboo, such as charcoal. In fact, Jamaica is the first country in the world to export bamboo charcoal to the United States. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Marlon Samuels.
Time now to get our daily updates from the financial markets. Gabriel Thompson brings us the business report.
In foreign exchange trading for Friday, October 8, the US dollar sold for an average $148.94. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $121.75. The pound sterling traded for $205.12, and the euro sold for an average $176.60. In Friday's trading session, the JSE combined index advanced by 2,315 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 97 stocks, of which 49 advanced, 33 declined, and 15 traded firm. The junior market index advanced by 38 points to close at over 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 1834 Investments Limited, and Access Financial Services Limited. Stocks declined for Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited, Siboney Group Limited, and Dolphin Cove Limited. Trading firm were Epley 7.5% preference shares, Epley Limited, and First Rock Capital Holdings Limited. Lumber Depot Limited was the volume leader with over 3 million units, followed by Jamaica Producers Group Limited with over 2.8 million units and Sagicor Select Funds Limited Financial with over 2.2 million units. In market data for oil, prices rose on Monday, extending multi-week gains amid supply restraint from major producers and growing demand for fuels as economies try to recover from the coronavirus pandemic. Brent crude futures jumped 81 cents to $83.20 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures climbed by $1.15 to $80.50 a barrel. And that does it for this Monday edition of the Business Report inside the news on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. Pleasant viewing.
Here are some of the stories we're looking at across the region. In Trinidad and Tobago, the 2022 budget debate ended much sooner than anticipated in the House of Representatives on Saturday. This as opposition members refused to add anything further to the debate, saying they had taken issue with statements made the day before by the Attorney General. Crystal Wilson reports.
It was only day 2 of the debate of the national budget for fiscal year 2022, and with contributions only made by some and not all government ministers and members of the opposition, Finance Minister Colm Imbert took to social media on Saturday night announcing he wrapped up the debate. TTT News understands things began going downhill following the contribution of Member of Parliament for Dabadi O'Meara, Lisa Morris-Julian.
As far as we are concerned, vaccination and education go hand in hand. I thank you very much, Mr.
Deputy House Speaker Esmond Ford signalled it was the opposition's turn to continue with the debate. Leader of Government Business in the House of Representatives, Camille Robinson Regis, also interjected.
You're not putting in anybody else at this time?
Members, please, the session.
I feel like we are being misled, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Members, the sitting is still in session.
After a delay, Member of Parliament for Oropouche East, Dr. Rudal Munilal, rose and explained that the opposition had taken serious issue with the budget contribution of Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi. He said his statements about their leader, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, were untrue.
The statement that the members of the family of the leader of the opposition having received government rentals is absolutely false, untrue, and misleading. I submit that the honourable member has committed a breach of privilege of the House. In this regard, Honourable Speaker, I refer this matter for your urgent attention and determination.
With none of the opposition members indicating they wish to continue with the debate, Member of Parliament for Diego Martin North East Finance Minister Colm Imbert took to his feet.
In their very weak contributions to this debate, they couldn't challenge any of the measures in the budget. And that is why their contributions have collapsed. So having said all of that, Madam Speaker, and since they have nothing to say, I beg to move.
Speaker of the House, Bridget Anisette George, referred the bill to the Standing Finance Committee. That sitting will take place on Monday, October 11th at 10 a.m. Crystal Wilson, TTT News.
The St. Lucia Teachers Union says it's standing in solidarity with teachers in the region who may be at risk of losing their vocation due to vaccine mandates.
Vaccination mandates for public servants in neighboring island Antigua and Barbuda continue to be a point of discussion for regional stakeholders. As of Thursday, October 7th, Antigua and Barbuda's Cabinet of Ministers agreed, effective October 15th, 2021, to extend the vaccine mandate to include businesses within the private sector.
Vaccine mandate will be extended to include all of the essential services, both public and private, and the financial service institutions to include the banks, insurance companies, credit unions, and similar organizations. What we want to ensure is that these organizations, these private sector organizations, put in place a necessary regime to ensure that their places are safe for commerce and they are safe for the employees as well. So we would want all of the employees within these organizations to be a part of the mandate.
The interconnectivity of small island developing states in the Caribbean allows for governments and organizations to review policies and prescriptions within the region and assess their viability for implementation. However, despite Antigua and Barbuda's momentous decision, some stakeholders within St. Lucia are against any form of mandatory vaccination.
The St. Lucia Teachers Union is keenly monitoring the situation as it unfolds in St. Lucia. Given the sacrifices that teachers continue to make, the SLTU will fervently oppose any move that will place further strain on teachers.
President for the St. Lucia Teachers Union, Don Howell, speaking on the occasion of World Teachers' Day, made the position of the SLTU clear. The SLTU now stands in solidarity with teachers around the region whose livelihoods may be at stake over decisions not to get vaccinated.
Let us remember our colleagues in the region whose livelihoods are being threatened by mandates made regarding COVID-19.
Interestingly, a recent survey conducted by the St. Lucia Chamber of Commerce revealed that the majority of its members are in agreement with the imposition of vaccine mandates in the workplace.
65% of the chamber members indicated a support for a vaccinated workplace policy, while 31% of them, of the respondents, also provide incentives to their staff to be vaccinated.
COVID-19 has drummed up heated debate over the course of action that organizations, workplaces, and governments should take to bring an end to the pandemic. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
In Grenada, Cabinet will convene this week to deliberate on the reopening of schools. More details in this report.
Education Minister Emmeline Pearce says Cabinet will soon convene to chart the way forward for the reopening of schools, while teaching and learning at present continue via the online platform.
As to what that final decision will be as it relates to vaccination and school reopening, we expect that our consultation period would end in the next week, right? And Cabinet would take a final decision as it relates to education, the return of students, and then we would be informing the public as to how we are going to move with a first phase of return to the classroom. And note I'm saying first phase, that will not be every student in Grenada.
Minister Pearce said that while Grenada's COVID-19 cases continue to show a downward trend, many issues must be taken into consideration to ensure the safety of the nation's children.
We do have a number of students with underlying conditions. Asthma, high blood pressure, diabetes, it is the fact, right? Now, should we return to school this year, right? And let's just talk about this year. So let us assume November, we're going to return to school, or sometime late in October, I don't know. There's absolutely no way that we can consider these students as we did before. There's absolutely no way, because the risk would be too high for this group of students, and unfortunately, there are a number of them.
As is becoming the trend, vaccination will play a key role in the resumption of face-to-face teaching and learning. Both students 12 years and over and teaching and supporting staff within the school compound are encouraged to take the available Pfizer or AstraZeneca vaccines.
We want to make sure we give as many students as possible an opportunity to return to school, and that opportunity, I'm saying, will be increased if more of our students or most of our students are vaccinated, most of our teachers are vaccinated.
Grenada, as of Wednesday night, recorded 650 active cases, of which 47 are new. 2 deaths were recorded and 44 people are hospitalized. The records show that 26,003 people are fully vaccinated and 9,572 are partially vaccinated. Cherry and Blackman Stephen, GBN News.
In sports, we look to football. The Reggae Boyz held Canada to a 0-0 scoreline and salvaged a point from their World Cup qualifier match on Sunday at the National Arena. The Boyz still remain at the bottom of the group standings with 2 points. And that's our package. We've just watched the news on PBCJ, the People's Station.